music on.
Only two weapons can destroy the world, and only two countries may choose to do so. Hypersonic missiles and laser weapons, China and the United States. The two world powers have been at each other's necks for the longest, and now they may finally strike, as the US finally responds to China's unending threats. China's threats, or what appear to be threats, are almost too numerous to count, but there's been a surge in them in recent years. In August 2020, the Chinese People's Liberation Army Rocket Force fired a number of ballistic missiles into the northern end of the South China Sea from locations in mainland China, simulating an apparent anti-ship strike. This was only one of many exercises that have been considered some sort of warning message to the US. The US possibly had a clear view of these particular launches as a US Air Force RC-135S Cobra Ball spy plane flew to the Red Sea when China executed the launches. The missiles launched in their numbers were reportedly the DF-21D and the much larger DF-26B ballistic missiles. The DF-21D, a medium-range ballistic missile, has a maximum range between 600 and 1,900 miles, while the maximum range of the DF-26B, an intermediate-range ballistic missile, sits between 1,800 and 3,500 miles. Far enough to strike American ships on the sea while staying out of range for retaliatory attacks. So, should the US come to the aid of Taiwan when China makes true of its promise to invade the island nation and absorb it back under its control, these ballistic missiles will be crucial. The US is a mighty powerful force on the seas, with the largest ships on the planet by a wide margin, particularly with aircraft carriers. A quarter of all aircraft carriers in the world belong to the US Navy, and their total deck space is more than double that of all other nations combined. To defeat such a fleet on the seas, China might not need to deploy a single carrier of its own, but instead launch its ballistic missiles to drill holes in the American ships. After all, the DF-21D is already dubbed the carrier killer in Chinese media, and it is a less formidable missile than the DF-26. Both missiles reportedly have warheads that can reach hypersonic speeds and maneuver impressively to evade air defense systems as they fly towards their target on the seas. The only way to stop such missiles probably doesn't exist yet. The US must change that, and quickly too. Its dominance on the seas heavily depends on it. This is where the Meteor Project comes in. The Meteor Project is a project by the US Navy aimed to produce a new type of weapon that can counter China's threats on the seas. This new weapon will be a high-power microwave-directed energy weapon, or HPM weapon for short. An HPM weapon generates bursts of microwave energy that are capable of disrupting or destroying the electronics inside a target system. The benefits of such a weapon over virtually everything else are substantial. One such benefit, even over other directed energy weapons such as laser weapons, is that an HPM weapon can produce very different graduated effects. This means that a single HPM weapon could offer a range of capabilities, including more subtle jamming-like functionality or more destructive effects, depending on which is desired at a point in time. Using the HPM weapon, sailors can generate more controllable attacks than is possible with kinetic weapons. The wider beam that some HPM systems can emit also gives them distinct advantages compared to laser beams when it comes to their ability to quickly engage multiple targets. Their short time requirement when engaging targets makes them better suited for tackling drone swarms. Once powerful enough, this new weapon could be the Navy's favorite response to China's formidable missiles. The beams from an HPM move at the speed of light, making it almost impossible for China's missiles to outrun or outmaneuver them. They would be in a cloud of their own smoke before they sniff out where the heat is coming from. Like other directed energy weapons, an HPM weapon also offers the benefits of a deep, somewhat unlimited magazine. Unlike traditional kinetic weapons, HPM weapons do not need to be physically reloaded with ammunition. They can theoretically keep firing for as long as they're connected to a power source. Then there is the benefit of a low cost per shot, which is a game changer on its own. The rise of low-cost yet highly effective offensive weapons in recent years has forced a worldwide hunt for even lower-cost defensive responses to them. As it stands, the U.S. is forced to counter $1,000 drones with million-dollar missiles, a disproportion that cannot stand. It's even worse on the seas, as ships have very limited defense missile stockpiles and cannot be easily replenished. At least not until sailing back to base, which could be thousands of miles away. The bout between the U.S. Navy and Houthi forces on the Red Sea is a prime recent example of this. The Houthis have been launching anti-ship cruise missiles, aerial kamikaze drones, and explosive-laden uncrewed surface vessels and underwater vehicles at U.S. forces, which have had to respond with far costlier defense missiles. So, when faced with the threats of formidable hypersonic missiles from China and low-cost offensive weapons from anywhere else around the world, the new HPM weapon could come real handy for the U.S. Navy. It would not only shoot down incoming threats, but also reserve kinetic air defense missiles for larger, more critical threats. For these reasons, and possibly more, the U.S. Navy has its eyes keenly set on building and operating an HPM weapon. The service requested over $9 million for the Meteor program in the fiscal year 2025, and $13.5 million a year ago for the 2024 fiscal year, when the program was still named Red Cat. Whatever the reason for renaming the project remains unknown, but the goal is the same. However, until this goal of an effective directed energy weapon is achieved, the Navy must make do with the next best thing: ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles are the eighth wonder of the world. Offense or defense, they are a top pick for the top nations in the world, including the United States, which boasts a large arsenal of them. Of all the ballistic missiles in the U.S. arsenal, one stands out for the U.S. Navy: the SM-6. The SM-6, or Standard Missile 6, is a multi-mission missile capable of anti-air warfare, terminal ballistic missile defense, and anti-ship strike roles. It uses a blast fragmentation warhead to engage its targets within the atmosphere. It is a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-all kind of weapon. According to U.S. Navy Vice Admiral John Hill, the head of the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, the SM-6 is the only weapon in the country's arsenal at present that offers any ability to knock down highly maneuverable hypersonic threats. A number of things make the SM-6 the standout weapon it is. For one, it combines the solid rocket booster and dual-thrust rocket motors of the SM-3 series, the airframe of the SM-2 series, and the seeker and nose cone of an advanced medium-range air-to-air missile. Thanks to this tribrid nature, the missile is able to stand out from other missiles of the Standard Missile family. For instance, it is the only missile in the family to feature an active seeker for terminal guidance, which it adapted from the Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missile. The active seeker allows the missile to engage targets beyond the range of shipboard radars, which are limited by power output and the curvature of the Earth. This over-the-horizon intercept capability of the SM-6 is what makes it a key pillar of the Navy integrated fire control counter-air concept. When integrated with other sensors through networks like the Cooperative Engagement Capability, an SM-6 can conduct engagements beyond the range of any prior air defense interceptor. And in 2016, it proved this. During a test, an SM-6 set a record for the longest-range anti-air warfare engagement ever in U.S. Navy history. Going under the X-ray, the SM-6 is a 1.6-ton missile packing a 140-pound blast fragmentation warhead that detonates using a radar and contact fuse mechanism. Powered by a two-stage propulsion system, the missile can fly to an altitude greater than 110,000 feet, breaking into space and hit speeds up to Mach 3.5, faster than the SR-71, the fastest air-breathing jet in history, ever flew. Guided by an inertial guidance combined with terminal active and semi-active radar homing, an SM-6 can strike with precision targets that are up to 230 miles away. With all these capabilities on offer, it's easy to see why the HPM weapon from Meteor is unlikely to replace the SM-6 in service, but rather complement it. The SM-6 missile and the Meteor HPM weapon are formidable weapons. They aren't perfect by any means. They both leave gaps to be filled. However, these are gaps that they could fill for each other. Working together, these two weapons can form a defensive and offensive suite that would protect the U.S. Navy and its ships from whatever weapons were launched at them, irrespective of cost, speed, size, maneuverability, or anything else. For this reason, the U.S. Navy asks that you give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. So do that now, and thanks for watching.